marketplace was alive with noise and chaos, alien merchants shouting over each other, colorful stalls packed with strange fruits, shimmering fabrics, and exotic gadgets. But amidst the lively crowd, a dark presence moved silently, unnoticed, a group of rough, armed figures dragging a small, trembling figure behind them. Kai, a human explorer from the nearby star colony, had never seen such a scene. His curiosity turned quickly to alarm when he noticed the little alien girl struggling against her captors, her luminous eyes wide with fear, her tiny hands trying to free herself. He felt a pang in his heart, something he could not ignore. The girl's cries were muffled, but her panic was clear, and Kai knew he could not walk away. Yet the traitors were armed, dangerous, and clearly not afraid of anyone around them. He scanned the crowd looking for help, but everyone seemed busy with their own business. No one was noticing the girl's plight. Hesitation gripped him for a moment, but the sight of her scared, small face stirred courage inside him. With careful steps, Kai moved closer, pretending to browse a nearby stall, his eyes locked on the girl, noticing how the tallest traitor held a whip-like device ready to strike if she resisted further. He needed a plan, something quick, something unexpected, because if he acted slowly, the girl would be hurt, and the traitors were clearly capable of violence. His mind raced, weighing risks, calculating the chance of success. Suddenly, one of the traitors barked a command, forcing the girl to stumble forward, and in that instant Kai seized the moment. He grabbed a heavy crate from the stall and threw it towards the traitor's feet, creating a loud crash and scattering nearby merchandise. The traitor cursed loudly, giving Kai just enough time to sprint forward, grabbing the girl's small hand. "Come with me," he shouted, pulling her away from the startled group. The girl hesitated for a heartbeat, fear painted across her face, but Kai's determined eyes reassured her. He squeezed her hand gently and she ran with him, her bare feet barely making sound on the marketplace floor. The traitors shouted, realizing the girl had been taken, their anger loud and terrifying. They drew strange energy weapons, and Kai knew the chase had only begun. Weaving through narrow alleys and crowded streets, he kept the girl close, shielding her from sight. The girl gasped. Who are you?" she asked in broken English, her voice quivering. "I'm Kai. I'm here to help you," he replied, glancing over his shoulder as sparks of blue energy fired past them, hitting walls and stalls, shattering glass and creating smoke. He led her through a hidden passage behind a fabric stall, sliding a loose panel aside to reveal a narrow, dark corridor. "This way quickly," he urged, and she followed without another word, her trust fragile but growing with every step. The traitors followed, their footsteps echoing ominously, one of them shouting, "Get her! Don't let them escape!" Kai pressed a small button on his wrist device, activating a small smoke emitter he had taken from the colony. Thick clouds poured into the corridor, hiding their movements. He held the girl close, whispering, "Stay low, stay quiet." They ran for what felt like hours, twisting through tunnels beneath the marketplace, the sounds of pursuit fading slowly until finally, they emerged near the outskirts of the colony, the alien girl stumbling from exhaustion, but free for the moment. Kai helped her sit on a low wall, catching his breath. "You're safe now, for a little while at least," he said, scanning the horizon for any sign of the traitors but only seeing distant figures among the marketplace lights. The girl's eyes filled with tears. Why did you help me?" she asked softly. Kai smiled gently. "Because no one should be treated like that, no matter who they are," he replied, his voice calm but firm. And she stared at him, trying to understand, her fear slowly mixing with curiosity. He knew this was only the beginning. The girl was special, her presence unusual, and the traitors would not give up easily. There was a story here, bigger than either of them, something that connected the girl to forces Kai could barely imagine. But for now, they had a moment of safety, and that was enough. Kai helped her to her feet. "We need to move before they find us again," he said, and she nodded, wiping her tears, determination growing in her young eyes. As they disappeared into the shadows, the marketplace behind them still alive with noise, Kai felt a strange sense of destiny, as if this encounter was not by chance and the human and the alien girl were about to change each other's lives forever. Somewhere far above, hidden in the stars, forces were already in motion, watching, waiting, and the rescue of a frightened alien girl would set in motion events that neither Kai nor the girl could yet understand. For now, however, they ran together, a human and a small alien, bound by courage, trust, and the faintest spark of hope. Kai led the young alien girl away from the city, past crowded streets and glowing neon signs into the quiet outskirts of the colony. The night sky above them was dark, but filled with twinkling stars. The girl kept close, her small hand gripping his tightly. Her breathing was shaky, but slowly she began to calm down. Where are we going?" she asked, her voice soft and hesitant. "Somewhere safe," Kai replied, glancing back to ensure no one followed. "You need rest, food, and shelter, and no one will find us here." He guided her to a small hidden outpost he had built on the edge of the colony, a place meant for travelers and explorers, but it was perfect for hiding someone in need. The walls were sturdy, the door reinforced, and inside, warmth and simple comforts waited. The girl's eyes widened as they entered, taking in the small living space, a cozy bed with soft blankets, shelves filled with supplies, and a small kitchen where Kai quickly began to prepare something to eat. "You can eat now," he said, offering her a plate of strange but edible food, alien fruits he had collected on his travels, and the girl hesitated, her hands trembling, but hunger won over fear, and she began to eat, savoring every bite. Kai watched her carefully, noticing the scars on her arms, faint marks from chains or cruel instruments. The girl's hands shook slightly as she ate, and his heart ached at the thought of what she had endured. "Are you hurt?" he asked gently, kneeling beside her. "Do you need help?" The girl shook her head, eyes wide and fearful. I am fine," she whispered, but Kai could see the pain behind her words. He reached out slowly, not to touch, but to show he meant no harm. "You don't have to be afraid here," he said softly. "No one will hurt you. I promise." Her eyes met his, glowing faintly in the dim light, and for the first time she seemed to trust him. Just a little, a small spark of hope in her gaze. Kai helped her to a small bed, tucking the blankets around her. "Try to sleep now. Tomorrow we will talk more and you will tell me your name," he said, and the girl nodded, curling up under the warm blankets, finally closing her eyes as she slept. Kai prepared for what was coming. He knew the traders would not give up easily. He checked his equipment, weapons, and communication devices, planning routes and escape strategies. Every detail mattered. He also thought about the girl, her species, and her mysterious origin. Something about her was different, special, important. He could feel it, though he did not yet understand why. The next morning, the girl awoke slowly, stretching and blinking at the sunlight filtering through the small window. "Kai, my name is Lyra," she said softly, testing the sound. Kai smiled. "Lyra, that is a beautiful name," he replied, handing her some water. "Now tell me about yourself, your people, and what happened to you." Lyra hesitated, her memories painful, images of the slave traders flashing in her mind. But she began slowly, speaking in broken English, describing her capture, the cruelty she endured, and the strange powers her people possessed. Kai listened carefully, asking gentle questions, never rushing her, never judging, and with each word, the bond between them grew stronger, a silent promise forming that he would protect her at all costs. Days passed, and Kai taught Lyra how to move quietly, avoid detection, and care for herself in this strange colony. But he also allowed her to rest and recover, knowing that trust and comfort were as important as skills and strategy. Lyra explored the outpost cautiously, touching objects and examining tools, her curiosity growing, and she began to smile sometimes, small but genuine, and Kai felt a flicker of hope. "You are strong, Lyra," he said one evening, watching her practice small movements to defend herself. "You survived something terrible, and you can survive anything now." She looked at him, her eyes glowing faintly in the lantern light. You saved me," she whispered. And Kai nodded, understanding that their connection was deeper than words, a bond formed in courage and compassion. Kai also began to notice that Lyra was learning quickly, understanding the colony's language and even showing signs of intelligence beyond ordinary children of her age. He wondered what her future held, and whether she would ever return to her people. The outpost became their world, a small universe where safety, trust, and friendship grew, but beyond its walls the galaxy waited, full of danger, mystery, and opportunity. And Kai knew that the rescue was only the beginning of a much larger story. For now, however, Lyra was safe, resting, learning, and beginning to heal, and Kai watched over her, a human who had chosen courage and compassion over fear, unaware that the girl he saved would one day grow into a figure who could change worlds. And in that quiet outpost under the twinkling stars of a distant galaxy, the story of a human and an alien girl began to take shape, a story of trust, courage, and hope that would echo across the stars. Days turned into weeks at the hidden outpost, and Lyra's recovery continued. But she was no longer the frightened little girl Kai had first rescued. Her eyes now held determination, a spark of strength growing inside her. Kai watched her closely, noticing the way she observed everything, from the movement of the colony beyond the outpost to the strange tools and devices he had brought for exploration. She asked questions constantly, her mind quick and curious. "You are learning fast," Kai said one morning as Lyra practiced moving quietly across the small courtyard, her steps barely making a sound on the stone floor. "You have a gift for observation." Lyra nodded, her face serious. "I must learn." "To survive," she whispered, her voice firm. And Kai felt both pride and concern, knowing the galaxy outside was dangerous. Kai began teaching her more than survival. He showed her how to read maps of the colony, how to recognize dangers, and even how to handle simple energy weapons, carefully explaining rules and safety. At first, Lyra hesitated with the weapons, but her small hands quickly adapted, her aim surprisingly accurate, and Kai realized that she had reflexes far beyond a normal child of her age. "You are fast and smart," Kai said one evening as they sat by a small fire. "I have never met anyone like you." Lyra looked down at her hands, glowing faintly under the firelight. "I am not like others," she said softly. "I come from a special place, my people. We are different." Kai listened, curious, asking her gently to explain, and she told him about her home planet, a world of advanced beings, about her family, and the strange abilities she and her kind possessed. Though she did not reveal everything, Kai understood that her past was complicated, and he did not push, knowing that trust came slowly, and that the bond they were forming was more important than answers. Training became a daily routine, blending physical exercises with lessons in strategy, observation, and language. Kai challenged her to solve problems, to think quickly, and to trust her instincts. Lyra learned quickly, surprising Kai with her creativity and intelligence. She could anticipate danger, find hidden paths, and adapt to changing situations faster than he had imagined. One day, while practicing climbing a rocky wall near the outpost, Lyra paused, looking far across the landscape. "I see them," she said quietly, pointing to faint figures in the distance. "The traders." Kai's heart tightened. The threat had returned, and it was a reminder that the world beyond the outpost remained dangerous. He nodded. "Yes, but you are ready, Lyra. We can face them together if we must." The realization made her nervous but stronger, and for the first time she smiled faintly, understanding that she had power, knowledge, and allies, even if the galaxy was still full of dangers. Kai also began teaching her about trust, compassion, and leadership, explaining how decisions could affect many lives, and that strength alone was not enough to survive in the larger galaxy. Lyra listened intently, absorbing every word, and sometimes late at night she would practice quietly, moving with a precision and grace that reminded Kai of her alien heritage, the glow in her eyes soft but constant. Kai could see that she was growing into someone extraordinary, a child who had endured suffering, yet had learned to survive, adapt, and now to thrive. He felt a strange sense of destiny, as if her path was tied to something greater than the small outpost. He also noticed subtle signs of leadership in her, how she began to plan, how she could organize simple tasks, and how others, even small creatures nearby, seemed to respond to her presence despite the training. Kai made sure to let Lyra rest and play, to let her feel the normal joys of life, laughter, and curiosity. Knowing that balance was as important as skill, at night they would sit together under the stars, sharing stories of distant planets, of humans, and of alien civilizations, and Kai would watch her face glow in the starlight, remembering how frightened she had been, and feeling proud of how far she had come. One evening, Lyra asked quietly, "Kai, will I ever go back to my people?" Kai looked at her, the firelight reflecting in his eyes. "I don't know yet," he said honestly, "but when the time comes, you will be ready." Stronger than anyone could imagine, the bond between them deepened with each passing day. Trust, courage, and hope intertwining, as Kai realized that this small alien girl had already changed his life, and that the galaxy was about to witness something remarkable. Lyra's training was more than survival. It was transformation. And though they did not know the challenges ahead, one truth was clear. The human who had saved an alien girl from cruel traitors was now shaping a force that could one day change worlds. And under the quiet night sky, as the stars shimmered above the hidden outpost, Kai and Lyra prepared silently for the future, unaware of the adventures, dangers, and choices that awaited them. But certain of one thing, they would face it together. The morning sun painted the outpost in soft golden light, and Lyra moved quietly through the small courtyard. Her movements precise, calm, and confident. She no longer looked like the frightened girl who had first arrived months ago. Kai watched her from the doorway, a mixture of pride and sadness in his heart. He had trained her, taught her, and cared for her, yet he knew this day would come, the day she had to leave to face her past and return to her people. "Lyra," he called gently, and she turned, her glowing eyes meeting his. "Are you ready?" She hesitated, her small hands twisting together, a faint tremor in her voice. "I think so," she whispered, and Kai understood the weight of her words, the fear, the courage, and the responsibility she carried. Kai walked to her slowly, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You have grown stronger than I ever imagined. Stronger than even I could have hoped for," he said, and Lyra nodded silently, feeling the truth of his words in her heart. The outpost was quiet except for the soft hum of distant engines from the colony. Birds, alien creatures with shimmering feathers, circled above, and the world seemed to pause as if waiting for this moment. Kai handed her a small pack of supplies, carefully prepared, including food, tools, and a few personal items she had grown attached to. "Take these with you, they will help you on the journey ahead," he said, his voice steady despite the knot of emotion in his chest. Lyra accepted the pack, her fingers brushing against his. A small but meaningful connection, Kai. "Thank you," she said, voice trembling slightly. "For saving me, for teaching me, for everything." Kai smiled faintly, though his eyes glistened. "You saved yourself too, Lyra. Your courage made this possible. I only guided you," he said, and the words seemed to give her strength. They walked together to the edge of the outpost, overlooking the stars that stretched endlessly across the sky. The colony below now a distant hum. Lyra took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her choices, of leaving behind the human who had become her family. "I will return one day," she said softly, more to herself than to Kai. "I promise," and Kai nodded, understanding that the bond they shared would not break. Even across time and space, Kai handed her a small pendant, a token he had carried for years, something to remember him by. "This will keep you safe and remind you of home," he said, and Lyra accepted it, placing it carefully around her neck, feeling the warmth of his care. The sound of engines approached, a small transport waiting to take Lyra away. The reality of departure pressed down on them both, and for a moment neither spoke, letting the silence carry their unspoken emotions. Kai finally said, "Remember what I taught you. Trust yourself, stay brave, and always keep your heart strong." And Lyra nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "I will," she whispered, her voice firm despite the trembling of her hands. They embraced briefly, a hug full of gratitude, love, and hope. And then Lyra stepped back, her eyes meeting Kai's one last time, both understanding that this farewell was not the end, but a new beginning. The transport doors opened, and Lyra stepped inside, her small figure silhouetted against the light of the cabin. Kai watched, heart heavy but full of pride, knowing she was ready to face her people, to reclaim her destiny. As the engines roared to life, lifting her into the sky, Kai stood silently, watching the tiny craft disappear into the distance, the stars welcoming her journey, and a deep sense of fulfillment and longing settled in his chest. For the first time in months, the outpost felt quiet, still, yet alive with memories of laughter, training, and the bond they had formed. Kai walked back inside, knowing that though she was gone, her presence would remain with him always. He remembered the first day he had seen her, terrified and alone, and now she was leaving as a young adult, confident, strong, and ready to take her place in a galaxy that had once tried to break her. Kai sat by the window looking at the stars, imagining the adventures she would have, the challenges she would face, and the victories she would achieve, his heart filled with hope, knowing that her journey was only beginning. And somewhere far away, Lyra looked back at the outpost, the human who had saved her from the slave traders, and felt a surge of gratitude and determination. The lessons, love, and trust Kai had given her fueling her resolve. The farewell had not ended their story. It had only shaped it, forging a bond that distance could not break, and setting the stage for the incredible journey that awaited them both, a journey of courage, compassion, and destiny. Kai whispered into the quiet room, "Be safe, Lyra, until we meet again." And the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if acknowledging the promise of their future. The human and the alien girl forever connected by the courage of one rescue and the hope of 1,000 possibilities. 20 years had passed since Kai had rescued Lyra from the slave traders. The quiet outpost had long been abandoned, but the memories of that small alien girl and the bond they shared lingered in Kai's heart. The colony had grown and changed, bustling with new travelers, explorers, and merchants from distant worlds, yet Kai's life remained simple. He helped others, repaired ships, guided travelers, and sometimes shared tales of courage and compassion, though he rarely spoke of Lyra, keeping her memory private even after so many years. He would occasionally look up at the night sky and remember her luminous eyes, the small hand he had held, the courage she had shown, and a quiet smile would touch his lips as he recalled her first tentative words. Kai's life was full, but it was also marked by a sense of waiting, a feeling that something important had not yet come to pass. He had saved a life long ago, and the ripple of that action still reached across the stars, unseen but powerful. On a clear evening, as Kai repaired a small shuttle on the outskirts of the colony, a sudden glimmer caught his eye, a formation of ships approaching from the distance, unfamiliar, large, and moving with purpose. His heart skipped a beat. Something about the fleet felt different, grand, organized, almost regal, and a strange sense of recognition stirred within him, though he could not yet understand why. The colony watched in awe as the ships descended, their lights bright against the dark sky, and Kai's mind raced through possibilities, fear, curiosity, and hope blending together. Among the fleet, a single vessel broke away, smaller but elegant, shimmering in hues of silver and blue, and Kai felt a pull in his chest, a memory from long ago surfacing. The ship landed near him and a figure emerged, tall, poised, and radiant, with eyes that glowed softly in the twilight, commanding attention without a word. Kai's breath caught in his throat as he recognized her. It was Lyra, no longer a frightened girl but a powerful, confident woman, carrying herself with grace and authority, her presence unmistakable. Familiar yet transformed, Kai stepped forward, unsure whether to speak or remain silent. But Lyra's eyes found him, and a small, warm smile touched her lips, one that reminded him of the little girl she had once been. "Kai," she said softly, her voice carrying over the quiet crowd. "Do you remember me?" Kai nodded, emotions overwhelming him. "Of course I do, Lyra. You've changed so much," he said, struggling to find words, and she laughed lightly, a sound full of life and confidence. "I had to grow strong," she replied. "There were many challenges, many battles, but I never forgot you. Never forgot your kindness, your courage." Kai felt a lump in his throat, realizing that the simple act of saving a child so long ago had created ripples that reached far beyond what he could imagine. That compassion had shaped destinies, not just lives. The crowd around them watched in awe as Lyra moved among them, her demeanor regal, her gestures commanding respect and admiration. Yet there was a warmth in her eyes, a connection reserved for Kai alone. She told him about her journey, how she had reclaimed her place among her people, how she had learned to lead, to protect, and to guide, how the galaxy had become a vast network of challenges, opportunities, and alliances. Kai listened, pride swelling in his chest, knowing that the girl he had rescued had grown into someone who could change worlds, someone who embodied the very best of courage, intelligence, and heart. For the first time in years, Kai felt the full weight of what he had done all those years ago, and how small acts of kindness could grow into something extraordinary, shaping the fate of many. Lyra turned to him, her eyes glowing faintly. "I came back for you, Kai, because you saved me. Because you showed me that there is goodness in this galaxy, and I wanted you to see what you helped create. Kai shook his head, overwhelmed. I never imagined this. You've become a queen, a leader, he whispered, unable to believe the transformation he was witnessing. She placed a hand on his shoulder, firm but gentle. And you will always be part of my story, Kai. Your courage, your heart, they live on through me. In that moment, Kai understood the true power of humanity, compassion and bravery, realizing that saving a life, showing kindness in the darkest hour, could echo across decades and stars. As night fell and the stars shimmered above, Kai stood beside Lyra. The galaxy spread before them, full of possibilities, challenges, and hope. And he knew that life had moved on, but somehow, the threads of the past and future had woven together perfectly. The human who once rescued a frightened alien girl now witnessed her return as a queen, a force for good in the universe, and the bond they shared reminded him that courage, compassion, and humanity could shape destinies, far beyond what one could imagine. And somewhere deep in his heart, Kai smiled, knowing that though 20 years had passed, the journey was far from over, and the story of the human and the alien queen had only just begun. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting golden light across the colony, and Kai felt a strange mixture of anticipation and unease. The distant hum of engines grew louder, unusual, and almost regal in rhythm. From the sky emerged a massive alien fleet, gleaming ships of silver and blue, moving with precision and discipline, far larger and more powerful than anything Kai had ever seen. The entire colony watched in awe and fear, whispering among themselves. Kai's heart pounded in his chest, a deep familiar feeling stirring within him. He had waited for this moment, though he did not know exactly why, and as the largest ship descended, elegant and commanding, he felt his breath catch. The doors of the ship opened slowly, revealing a figure poised and radiant, her presence commanding yet graceful, every movement deliberate and filled with purpose, and Kai recognized her instantly. It was Lyra, no longer the young alien girl he had rescued, but a queen, regal and powerful, her glowing eyes scanning the world below, her every gesture exuding confidence and authority. Yet there was a warmth in her gaze that reached Kai alone. She stepped forward, the light reflecting off her armor, shimmering like starlight, and the colony fell silent, the majesty of her arrival leaving everyone frozen in awe. Whispers of queen, leader, and power drifting through the air. Kai felt his chest tighten, pride and disbelief mingling. This was the girl he had once saved. The small, frightened child who had clung to him in terror, now returned with the strength of a leader and the wisdom of experience. Lyra descended the steps of her ship, each movement precise, confident, yet graceful. She stopped near Kai, her eyes meeting his, and for a moment, the noise, the crowd, the fleet, all faded into silence, leaving only the connection between them. Kai, she said softly, her voice carrying through the quiet, I promised I would return, and I have. And Kai could feel the weight of those words, filled with gratitude, respect, and unspoken emotion. Kai stepped forward, unsure whether to bow, greet, or simply stand in awe, but Lyra smiled, a smile that reminded him of the little girl she had once been, and yet held the power of a queen. I brought my people, she continued, gesturing to the fleet behind her. Not to conquer, but to honor the human who showed me kindness, courage, and hope 20 years ago. And the fleet's ships glimmered, as if acknowledging her words. The colony's citizens watched in amazement, realizing that this arrival was unlike any other, a queen from a distant world, bringing respect and gratitude rather than war or threat. Kai's heart swelled with pride, realizing the ripple effect of a single act of compassion, that saving a frightened alien girl had grown into something extraordinary, something that could inspire awe and hope across worlds. Lyra approached him, placing a small hand on his shoulder, firm yet gentle. Kai, you gave me the chance to survive, to grow, to become who I am today, she said, her glowing eyes reflecting the fading sunlight. I could never forget that. Kai shook his head, overwhelmed. I never imagined this. You, a queen leading a fleet. He stammered, his voice thick with emotion. Lyra's smile softened. You imagined it for me when you saved me, when you believed in me, when you taught me courage and kindness. Everything I am now began with you. The fleet behind her shimmered with energy, ships aligning in formations that reflected precision, strength, and unity. Yet the aura surrounding Lyra was not of fear, but of admiration and hope. A leader chosen by destiny and compassion. Kai realized the full scope of what had happened, how the small act of saving one life had created consequences far beyond what he could have imagined, touching hearts, inspiring loyalty, and shaping the future. As Lyra turned her gaze to the colony, she addressed everyone, her voice powerful but calm. We honor the human who taught us that courage, kindness, and compassion are stronger than fear, stronger than violence, stronger than hate. The citizens of the colony bowed, whispered, and even the most skeptical among them felt awe. And Kai stood silently, pride, humility, and wonder filling his heart. Lyra's presence radiated authority and warmth simultaneously, a combination rare in leaders, and Kai knew that the girl he had saved had become a force for good in the galaxy, her power tempered by compassion, her wisdom shaped by experience. For the first time in years, Kai felt the full magnitude of what he had done, how saving Lyra had changed not just one life, but many, and how humanity's simple acts of courage and care could echo across decades and light years. As the stars appeared overhead, Lyra turned back to him, her expression softening. This is only the beginning, Kai, she said. Together, we can shape a future where hope and humanity matter more than fear and cruelty. Kai nodded, feeling the truth in her words, and looking up at the fleet, the stars, and the vast galaxy beyond. He knew that the human who had once rescued a child had been part of something far greater than he could have ever imagined. The Queen, her fleet, and the human stood together, a symbol of courage, hope, and humanity, and the galaxy watched silently, waiting for the next chapter of their extraordinary story. The colony had never seen anything like it. The Queen, Lyra, stood tall beside Kai, her fleet shimmering behind her. Yet her eyes held warmth and gratitude, a quiet reminder of the frightened girl she once had been. She turned to the people gathered around, her voice carrying with authority and kindness. Today we honor one human, one act of courage, one heart that chose compassion over fear. And that choice changed everything. Kai stood silently, overwhelmed, realizing that the simple act of saving a child had grown into something that touched not just one life, but countless lives across worlds. Lyra continued, Courage is not always loud, and heroism is not always recognized immediately, but it echoes through time, shaping destinies and inspiring hope, and the citizens listened. Hearts moved, understanding the truth in her words. She stepped closer to Kai, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. This is your legacy, Kai, the proof that humanity, kindness, and bravery can influence the galaxy itself. And he felt a deep warmth. Pride and humility mingling. Kai could barely speak. I just did what I thought was right, he murmured. And Lyra smiled. That is enough, it is always enough. For the right choice creates ripples far beyond imagination. The fleet behind her shifted, energy flowing in graceful formations, a show of power and unity. Yet it was not threatening, it was celebratory, a tribute to the human who had saved her. Lyra invited Kai to walk among her people, to see their worlds, their ships, and their lives, and he marveled at the civilizations that had flourished. All connected by a single act of compassion decades ago. Children ran past him, laughter echoing through the fleet's central plaza, and Kai realized that every small life had been touched by courage and kindness. A web of influence that spanned years and light years. One of Lyra's aides approached, bowing. Your presence, human, has inspired our people more than words can describe, and Kai shook his head humbly. I never imagined this, he said softly. I only did what I felt was right at the time. Lyra placed a hand over his. That is exactly why it mattered. Because you acted without expectation, without reward, and that is why the universe remembers you, she said, her voice filled with awe and gratitude. Kai's eyes followed the horizon, where the sun kissed distant planets, thinking of all the challenges, all the dangers, and the frightened little girl who had once clung to him. And now she was a queen shaping entire worlds. Lyra knelt beside him briefly, her eyes glowing faintly. You taught me that being human is more than strength or skill. It is courage, compassion, and love for others. And that lesson has guided me always, she whispered, and Kai felt tears sting his eyes. The citizens and fleet watched silently, witnessing a human who had acted with nothing but courage, now recognized as a symbol of hope and morality. A reminder that one life, one choice, could echo across decades and stars. Lyra gestured to Kai, inviting him to sit among her leaders. A position of honor, yet she whispered softly, "You are not just honored for what you did, but for who you are." And Kai understood that his humanity mattered more than any title or recognition. The sun set, painting the fleet in warm hues of orange and purple, and Kai realized that this moment was larger than him, larger than Lyra, larger than the galaxy itself. It was a celebration of the values that define humanity. Lyra stood once more, raising her voice. Let this day remind every being in the galaxy that courage, kindness, and compassion can overcome cruelty, fear, and darkness, and that one act can change many lives. The fleet responded with a synchronized display of light, energy beams stretching across the sky, dazzling the colony below, a reminder that hope, bravery, and humanity shine brightest in the darkest times. Kai looked at Lyra, now fully grown, wise, and powerful, yet still the same girl who had needed saving, and he knew that their bond would last forever, forged through courage, trust, and shared destiny. As night fell and stars shimmered above, Kai realized that his life, once simple and quiet, had become extraordinary through compassion and courage, and that true heroism was not in power, but in the choices made for others. Lyra approached him, her eyes soft. Kai, you showed me that humanity is not just survival, it is love, courage, and hope, and that gift will guide us both for the rest of our lives. And Kai smiled, feeling the truth of her words deep in his heart. The colony, the fleet, and the galaxy witnessed a simple truth, that humanity, through acts of courage and kindness, could touch lives, change destinies, and inspire hope beyond imagination. Kai stood beside the queen, knowing that his actions had shaped not just one life, but a legacy that would echo across time and space. A legacy of humanity at its finest, and under the endless stars, human and alien stood together, proof that courage, compassion, and love could unite worlds, and that one simple act of kindness could become the foundation of legends.